What's good, y'all? I'm outside. The sun is going down, running out of daylight. So I'm gonna hurry up here. I got my dog's leash on here, taking her on a walk, connecting with nature. So I'm only gonna use one arm for all my hand gestures and stuff. You guys know already what I'm talking about. But today I want to talk about reality and how it's basically a projection of our consciousness. How we're all spiritual beings, and I'm not sure if there's a soul or not. I feel like the concept of a soul is really just something that is an ego attachment. We think of this self and have this self-identity, and we have to have this self-identity when we die and live beyond and all that. And I know some people might disagree with that, so I'm not trying to piss off anyone, so just share your opinions in the comments if you're viewing this and think otherwise, and maybe we can have a spiritual talk or even a debate. Not an argument though, I don't argue with people. But yeah, really want to talk about details here. Philosophy. Now, I'm not too philosophical. I try not to get too esoteric because I just don't have the time for it sometimes, and I wish I did, honestly. I wish I was more connected and in tune with myself. And I definitely feel like that now that I'm recording a video. I'm outside in nature around the green grass and everything. You guys might be able to see with the clouds. It's been raining a lot this last week or so. But yeah, anyways, projection of consciousness. So we are these spiritual beings, and we live in this realm, and we project our consciousness to view reality a certain way. And this might not make complete sense to you, but to me, I feel like reality is just something that isn't real. It's just something that we perceive to be real. We perceive everything around us to be real, but somebody else might be experiencing something that's completely different than you. They might have completely different beliefs, completely different culture, and completely different political views. And that's okay. Not everyone has it right. You can't be so strongly attached to a belief that you 100% are sure that it is correct. Unless if you have, undisputable evidence for it. That, sure, okay. But when it comes to spiritual beliefs, nobody's sure. Nobody has it completely figured out, except maybe even those that are, the people who are enlightened. Maybe they have a lot of it figured out, but even they don't know completely how the universe works. And we project our consciousness. Consciousness is what gives us an ego, and it's what allows us to project it all over the place, into relationships, into just random situations, into work, into school, basically anything that you can think of. Your consciousness is being projected into, and your ego is being attached to something, and you're using your ego and your self-identity to act a certain way. We all act a certain way. We might act like ourselves. We might say that we are ourselves around a certain person or a certain place, or whether we're by ourselves or not. But what does that really mean? Ourself. How do you act like yourself? We're just primal beings. When we really think that we are ourselves, maybe we aren't ourselves. It's just more like being in a flow state. You're projecting your consciousness. You're not projecting your consciousness. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not projecting your ego onto anything. You're not latching your ego onto anything when you're in this flow state. That's when you're actually truly yourself. But in reality, I don't believe self exists, because that's just another form of ego attachment. This makes me want to bring up how I feel like I'm not from this time, but for a later discussion, I'll go into detail about time isn't real. And I feel like I could be in a mix of a whole bunch of different time periods. And maybe that could be because my ego is still attached to other lifetimes that I've experienced. I think we definitely have gone through multiple lifetimes as spiritual beings. I don't know how it works. I don't know where we go. I don't know how many times I've been through a lifetime, or how I lived, or where I lived even, but I do know something for sure. I know who I am. I figured this out in the last year or so. I know what my style is like, and I know where I want to live. I know I want to be around mountains and seasons and pine trees. When I think of a natural lifestyle, I think of living somewhere where you have easy access to the great outdoors, somewhere where it snows too, somewhere where there's 4 seasons and there's lots of different weather phenomena like rain, snow, the spring is pretty, the falls are beautiful, and the summers are hot, but they're not overwhelming, you know? And neither are the winters super overwhelming. That's my ideal place to live, which would be Colorado Springs. But that's another discussion as well of where I want to live, what I want to do with my life. So I kind of got off topic and I forgot where I was completely going with this. So time. I feel like I could be from the 60s. I feel like I could have been a Native American living in the mountains or the woods or the desert somewhere, you know. I don't know who I might have been in my past life, but that's something that I don't really have to think too hard about, you know. You don't have to go venture off into past lives because you're just thinking too hard about history, and history ends up repeating itself anyways, as we've seen time and time again. And maybe that's how time works. We don't know what time is. Time doesn't really exist, but it could just be a constant loop or cycle of things that we've been through and things that we come back to, or things that we latch off of. And our ego is a part of that. We project our consciousness elsewhere in order to identify ourselves with our reality and identify ourselves with certain aspects of our life, or what we like or what we dislike. But I feel like I was saying earlier, that there is no true definition of being yourself, unless if you're on shrooms or any other type of psychedelic where you're almost completely rid of the ego. And when you're completely rid of that ego, you're actually genuinely connected to the universe. You have your crown chakra activated, your third eye is activated, you have all your chakras aligned to connect with you, if there even is a complete you or self. Psychedelics bring you to this primal state where you're connected with nature, you're down to earth. That's why I imagine psychedelics to be taken predominantly in the spring. You know, that's why I say sometimes that I think that I'm from the 60s, where psychedelics made this huge movement where people were out in San Francisco popping tabs of acid and doing shrooms in the green fields in early spring and April. Like, that's what I think of. And I happen to live in California, where I've done shrooms in exactly that time of year, in late March or early April, you know, around the time of early spring. I feel like that's the perfect time to do it, because that's the time when you feel the days getting longer, you feel the warmth coming back, you feel yourself changing and looking forward to new things and starting new goals. That's why the springtime is so important. And that is related to me projecting my consciousness and making this reality, because lately I've been super nostalgic about psychedelics. I don't know what it is. I think it's because my spiritual awakening was last year, around March and April. Psychedelics, they give me this sense of nostalgia, and I feel like in a way I've been letting my ego get too attached to this reality where I'm gonna be taking psychedelics and having this amazing experience, you know, but it's just me creating a false reality in my head and attaching my ego to it. Like I'm saying, I'm projecting my ego into this reality where I'm having amazing experiences on psychedelics, but it doesn't exist. I don't know if that makes any sense. Basically, I'm imagining myself on shrooms while listening to certain music or thinking of the springtime. I imagine myself on shrooms already, just experiencing the experience and letting myself be my rawest form inside and enjoying the experience and enjoy nature as well. I'm becoming attached to this and feeling nostalgia. And I don't know if any of you guys have had that who have tried psychedelics before, how maybe in your honeymoon phase of psychedelics, which I still think I'm in my honeymoon phase, definitely. But my last few experiences haven't been, great in terms of spirituality. They haven't allowed me to have any self-growth. And I think it's maybe because I've been expecting too much. Like I said again, projecting my ego and into this reality and expecting me to have this complete turnaround of things that maybe I already know. So next time, what I think I should do really is go into my trips without any expectations. Let myself be, let myself relax and let the journey take me and show me whatever it wants to show me. I can't expect too much from it, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to not be nostalgic or reminiscent about those good times I had on psychedelics. I'm still in my honeymoon phase. I just started taking psychedelics 2 years ago and they completely changed my life, so I can't blame myself for feeling like the way I do. But if anybody has any advice or anybody wants to comment on what I'm saying, or if they're feeling the same way at all, please let me know, because we're all in this together. We all have this ego that sometimes is hard to get rid of. It's attached to many different things and aspects of our lives, but ultimately you have to learn how to live with it. You have to learn how to set it aside in the times that you really need to. And that's all I really had to talk about today. So, Alex from Psychonaut Visions, signing out.